The story will be told from the perspective of the main female character. My sister screamed right there in the courthouse. "She is just a jobless former soldier," she shouted. Those words struck the quiet room like shrapnel hitting the expensive shoes and the stone floor. I did not even flinch. I just watched a member of my own flesh and blood try to completely erase the small amount of dignity I still had. Then I got up. I walked to the judge's bench. I laid a single paper down. He read it once, then looked up commanding, "Lock the doors. This room is sealed." Everything shifted right then. Before I explain how we reached that point, please hit like and post a comment. Where are you viewing this from tonight? Tell me if you ever had to argue with your own family over the truth. I stepped out of the taxi that morning. The air carried the scent of wet asphalt and dirt, a smell that stays with your gear and your memories. 2800 Oakage Drive was exactly where it belonged, but the welcoming feeling I remembered was gone. The porch light above the entry was blinking, signaling trouble, not warmth. The gate now had a key code panel and new security locks. A for sale sign leaned over in the yard, its corner moving in the wind. I stood there, still wearing my uniform. My discharge papers detailing 25 years of service were folded up in my pack. I had expected a homecoming. Instead, my sister Brooke's voice was broadcast through the speaker, sharp and clearly practiced. "You cannot be here, Janet. This property is not yours anymore." I almost smiled, thinking she was joking. "I just need to see Mom," I replied. She opened the gate. "She does not want to see you." "Nobody here does." Her words cut deeper than any blade I handled overseas. I tried again, softer this time. "I only want a quick chat." Brooke paused. Then she delivered the verdict. "You left us. You went away. You were taken out of the will." Within 10 minutes, a police cruiser arrived. The younger officer checked their file. Brooke gave him some documents. "The title belongs to Robert and Marcus," he announced. The older officer saw the ranking badge on my coat and focused on me. "I am Colonel Janet," I confirmed. He sighed. "Ma'am, I apologize. You must leave this area." The gate closed with a sound of metal on metal, a noise that lodged in my chest. I returned to the sidewalk. This was the same walk where my grandfather once taught me the basics of Morse code. All I could perceive now was silence. I waited in my car for the night 2 blocks away. The house shone amber through the trees, both familiar and alien. Every light was on, but not for me. My relatives inside were continuing their lives without hesitation. I remained until the sun came up, watching the light fade, recalling the last thing my grandfather told me before he passed. "Every untruth leaves a mark, Janet, even lies told by family." I did not know it then, but he was telling the truth, and the marks they left were about to ignite a firestorm. The following morning, I met Shannon at a small cafe on Maple Avenue. It was a spot known for bitter coffee and hidden tables, perfect for bad news. She was already there, hair tied back, sharp black suit, displaying the same intense focus she had when we argued legal points in college. She skipped the hug. Instead, she pushed a tablet over. "You should see this," she instructed. The screen displayed a listing for 2800 Oakage Drive, my grandfather's home, now under Ravencrest Holdings LLC. I blinked, trying to comprehend it. "That is not possible." Shannon enlarged the seller information. "My name was signed there in dark, precise handwriting. That is not my writing." "I am aware," she said quietly. "It is fake. The person who stamped the notary's signature lost their license for forgery last year." The room seemed to spin. "So they did not just steal it," I whispered. "They fabricated an entire legal scheme." Shannon's face softened, but her voice was firm. "Brooke's husband, Marcus, is listed as the contact person for Ravencrest shipments, and my father's name appears on several fund authorizations." The phrase "fund authorizations" hurt worse than any military combat I had experienced. My own kin had reduced my life to bureaucracy. I sat back observing the street outside, people laughing, holding coffee cups, living lives unaffected by treachery. "My grandfather promised me the house," I stated. "He told me that right before he passed. Then there should be proof." Shannon encountered an older will, perhaps an audio file, a letter, or an email. Something clicked in my memory. My old hard drive. Years ago, I scanned all his documents and put them onto a backup drive labeled Family Archive. I had not checked it since I deployed. Shannon leaned forward. One single discrepancy in timestamps, signatures, or money records is enough to reopen the case. I gave a slow nod. I will locate it. When I left the cafe, the shock had sharpened into resolve. I used to hear about betrayal happening to other people until it happened to me. Walking back to my vehicle, the wind picked up, bringing the smell of rain and tar. I tightened my coat and recalled Brooks' cold certainty. "They assume I will not fight," I muttered. "They have clearly forgotten who taught me how to fight." That evening, I started sorting through the crates stored in my small apartment. There were metal boxes, old memory sticks, and notebooks smelling faintly of wood and age. The quiet seemed amplified around me. I located the hard drive. It was tucked under an old military jacket and labeled Family Archive in my grandfather's shaky handwriting. When the drive turned on, I could hear his words in my head again. Every untruth leaves a mark. Finding the first error took no time. It was the digital copy of the will signed, dated, and witnessed. The primary beneficiary named on it was me. However, when I matched it against the copy Brooks' lawyer submitted, the signatures did not match up. Their version looked flawless, almost too clean, as if done by a machine. By midnight, my workspace was covered with paper, highlighted sentences, and notes scribbled everywhere. My feeling was no longer just sadness. I was working on a case. Shannon called the next morning. She had already reached out to an old colleague, someone who could help us track the illegal funds. Before she could name him, I said, "The former cyber commander Eyeless." She paused, surprised. "You still trust him with your security?" I answered that he taught me how to find the things people try to hide. Within an hour, Ellis and I were on a coded phone line. His voice was unchanged, steady, practical, and slightly sarcastic. "Been a while, Colonel," he greeted me. "You always find trouble." "Not this kind," I replied. "This time it is my own family." He began analyzing the accounts linked to Raven Crest Holdings. The names appeared quickly like shadows. Marcus and my father, Robert, were masked behind fake billing statements and fabricated payments for services. Brooks' husband moves the cash. Ellis reported, "Your father signs off on the permissions." Textbook internal money laundering. My heart rate increased, not from fear, but from the clear evidence. "Can you retrieve the original documentation?" I asked. "Already done." "But Janet, be careful. These are not amateurs." I interrupted him. "If they know I am digging, they already know." I was correct. That evening a text came in from a blocked number. "You are playing a dangerous game. We have your medical history." I stared at the screen, clenching my jaw. They wanted me labeled as unstable, ruined, and removed again. But the training I received just viewed this as an obstacle. I turned off my phone, started my computer, and opened a secure connection for Shannon and Ellis. "We start the real work tonight," I told them. "Every fake thing they created will be taken apart document by document." As the three of us worked, the pattern became obvious. Fake property deeds, secret payments, notarizations that were altered. Every lie had a digital record, and every deceit could be traced. By morning, I held the one document that could end their scheme. The original property deed, digitally confirmed with my grandfather's sworn statement attached. I looked at it for a long moment, then slipped it into a folder. "This is it," I whispered. "Just one paper is all it takes." The courtroom felt colder than I had anticipated. Maybe it was the marble, or perhaps the quiet, the kind of stillness that pushes against your skin until you can feel your own heartbeat in your neck. I sat up straight. My hands were folded, the creases of my uniform sharp as a blade. My 25 years of service had taught me how to stand firm when the world tried to make me small. The people sharing my blood sat across the aisle. My father, Robert, wore a dark blue suit, trying hard not to look at me. My sister Brooke sat with perfect posture and pearl earrings. Her husband Marcus was scrolling on his phone, acting bored by the legal process. My mother was seated directly behind them. When the court officer called my name, I stood up. The designation still sounded strange when someone else said it. "Colonel Janet, the plaintiff." For a brief moment, I met my father's eyes. They were calm. Too calm. The kind of false calm that comes from believing victory is already secured. The trial started. The lawyer presented the evidence we had accumulated over months. The changed payment records, the forged documents, the notary stamps authorized by a suspended agent. Shannon sat next to me. She went through her notes methodically. She did not need to speak much. The weight of the facts was enough, but the defense came prepared with malice. Their lawyer portrayed me as unstable, a soldier damaged by deployment, unfit to manage property, unable to distinguish trust from suspicion. They called me difficult, resentful, a woman who could not move forward. Then Brooke rose to speak. "She is just a jobless former soldier," she yelled. Her voice broke as it cut through the room. The judge hit his gavel, demanding order, but the harm was already done. Every person turned to look at me, whispering. I did not speak. I did not blink. I allowed her to fully expose her own actions. When the silence returned, I stood. "Your Honor," I spoke quietly. "May I approach the bench?" He hesitated, then gave a nod. I walked to the bench, my heels clicking on the floor. Each step felt purposeful, concluding. When I reached him, I placed a single folder on his desk. One official document, I explained, from the original property records, confirmed by a federal audit. He opened it and scanned the pages. His face changed instantly. First confusion, then understanding, followed by disbelief. He tapped his gavel once. "Seal the doors," he stated. "No one is to leave this room." The entire room froze solid. The officer moved to secure the entrance. Brooke's jaw dropped open. Marcus looked up from his phone, all color gone from his face. My father sat completely motionless, his facade crumbling slowly. My mother trembled behind them. She covered her mouth with her hand, her eyes watery. The judge spoke again, his voice now precise and firm. "These papers demonstrate a falsified deed, illegal transfer payments, and unauthorized use of a military identification. The signatures on record do not match the verified samples, and the authorization chain leads directly to you, Mr. Robert." My father did not try to deny it. He simply breathed out and looked away. Brooke's lips parted, but nothing came out. The same voice that had just called me a homeless veteran could barely draw air now. Shannon stood beside me, perfectly composed. She was the anchor holding the room steady. "Your Honor," she stated, "we have supporting evidence of financial fraud across state lines and coercion. All facts have been verified through federal channels." The judge nodded slowly. "Duly noted. The court will take a short break for verification." He left the room. The air stopped moving. No one spoke. My father's attorney bent over, whispering urgently, but Robert only stared ahead. Finally, he turned his head to me. "You did not need to do this," he said softly. "Family stays silent." "Family does not commit theft," I answered. Brooke broke down then, tears running through her carefully applied makeup. "It was Dad's plan," she sobbed. "He said you would not care. You were gone. You had your career." I did not respond. I had already given her too much attention. When the judge returned, his manner was clipped, precise and unforgiving. "This court finds sufficient proof of fraud, forgery, and deliberate misrepresentation. The estate at 2800 Oakage Drive will be transferred back to the rightful owner pending criminal charges against the defendants." He looked directly at me. "Colonel Janet, do you wish to speak to the court before the sentence is delivered?" I paused. Every feeling of frustration and rage I had suppressed over the past year surged in my chest. But when I finally spoke, my voice was calm. "I spent my working life battling enemies I never saw," I said. "People I was told to fear. But the true battle began the day my own relatives tried to wipe me out." I clarified. "I am not here seeking vengeance. I am here for the truth." Silence followed. The judge gave a single nod, his gaze unwavering. "Justice will proceed." Then he faced the defendants. Brooke, 6 years. Marcus, 8 years. Robert, 10 years, he added. No opportunity for early release. The gavel struck the wood. No one moved an inch. I watched my father's shoulders slump forward. My sister's face lost all color. My mother covered her eyes completely. The sound of the handcuffs fastening was quiet, almost gentle. As they were led away, my sister looked back one last time, her mouth trembling. I did not return her gaze. The courtroom began to empty. An older man, a stranger who looked like a veteran around 70, rose in the audience. He nodded once in my direction. "They cannot keep us erased," he said quietly. I nodded back. Outside, the air was crisp, but it did not feel harsh. I walked down the courthouse steps, the folder in my hand. That single document had cost me everything. Yet it restored my identity. They had called me a homeless veteran. But you cannot truly lose your home when it is built upon honesty. The story became public quickly, faster than I expected. By the next morning, local papers reported, "Veteran exposes family theft in courtroom showdown." I skipped reading the full stories. I did not need to. The judge's decision was louder than any interview could ever be. My sister received 6 years for document forgery and attempting to block the legal process. Her husband, Marcus, got 8 years for moving illicit funds through fraudulent shipping accounts. My father, Robert, the man who taught me how to salute before I could properly write my name, was given 10 years for organizing the entire scheme. No parole. Mom did not speak during the sentencing. When I saw her outside the court building, she seemed smaller, her shoulders hunched under a light-colored coat. She reached toward me, then stopped midway, her hand shaking. "I did not know," she whispered. I looked at her hand, then into her eyes. "Perhaps not, but you also chose not to find out." I kept my voice steady. Some painful realities do not require shouting. They only need daylight. A week later, I visited 2800 Oakage Drive one last time. The front gate was wide open now, police warning tape fluttering in the breeze. The hydrangea bushes my grandmother planted had survived, pushing through soil damaged by greed. I knelt beside them, brushing dirt off the petals. "I kept your promise, Grandpa," I murmured. "Every untruth left a mark. I just followed them back here. I did not take the house back for myself. I gave it away to a foundation that helps former service members rebuild their lives. I hope someone else could find stability there, someone who still needed a fixed address to restart." That night, I stood by the ocean. The sky was strewn with gray and silver. The edge of the sea felt limitless, untamed, exactly what freedom should feel like. For the first time in many years, I was not fighting anyone. I was not defending myself. I was simply still. Justice, I realized, does not make noise. It settles. They called me a homeless veteran, but that description was never accurate. I was never without a home. I was simply unwelcome in the place I helped preserve. And sometimes that pain is deeper than any combat injury. But I learned something important in that courtroom. A home is not just 4 walls or a name on a legal paper. It is the truth you refuse to hide. I move differently now, lighter. I carry no resentment, only the memory. Everyone who tried to destroy me must now live with the consequences of their own deceptions. That is sufficient punishment. People ask if I regret taking my own family to trial. The answer is straightforward. No, because silence never protects the innocent. It only safeguards the guilty. So if you are listening and someone told you to stay quiet or move on, do not listen. Shine a light exactly where they told you not to look. They thought they stole my house. What they actually did was give me a valuable story to share. If this resonated with you, drop a comment below. Tell me where you are watching from and what truth you would fight for. And make sure to hit subscribe because the next narrative could be yours.